The last text message read, "He's not who he said he was." It was sent at 2:17 of May, Tuesday night in March. By sunrise, the sender would be dead, and the recipient 3 states away would spend the next 72 hours trying to convince police that something terrible had happened. This is the story of how a 6-month digital romance became a death trap, how a web of lies unraveled in real time, and how modern technology both enabled a killer and ultimately brought him to justice. I'm going to walk you through every piece of evidence, every missed warning sign, and every moment that led to a courtroom where justice finally prevailed. But first, I need to warn you, this case contains disturbing details about deception, violence, and the dangerous reality of online predators. Before we begin, I want to thank everyone who's been part of this community. Your support means everything, and it's what allows us to dive deep into these cases with the respect they deserve. If you're new here and you want to see more investigations that focus on truth, justice, and preventing future tragedies, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us continue this work. Now, let me tell you about Natasha Williams and the man who wasn't who he claimed to be. January 15th, 2023. Natasha Williams, 26 years old, was grading papers in her apartment in Portland, Oregon. She taught 2nd grade at Lincoln Elementary, and her students adored her. Her friends describe her as cautious, intelligent, someone who always did her research before making decisions. That Sunday evening, bored after a long weekend of lesson planning, she opened a dating app she downloaded but barely used. The algorithm had been learning her preferences for weeks. Outdoorsy guys, college-educated, ages 25 to 35. The first profile that caught her attention belonged to Alex Rivera. The photos showed a tall, athletic man with kind eyes. His bio read, "Marketing Director, new to Dallas. Love hiking, trying new restaurants, and Sunday morning coffee. Looking for something real." What made Natasha swipe right wasn't just the photos. It was the details in his profile that suggested depth. He mentioned reading, volunteered at an animal shelter, had traveled to 12 countries. This wasn't a generic dating profile. This was someone who seemed real. They matched instantly. His first message came through at 7:23 p.m. "I saw you're a teacher. I have so much respect for educators. My sister teaches high school in Chicago, and I know how hard you all work. What grade do you teach?" Not "hey" or "what's up?" A thoughtful question that showed he'd actually read her profile. Their first conversation lasted until 11:47 p.m., 4 hours and 24 minutes of non-stop texting about everything from their worst first date stories to their favorite books. When Natasha finally said good night, she felt something she hadn't felt in months, genuine excitement about someone. Over the next few weeks, Alex and Natasha settled into a routine. Good morning texts, lunch break calls, evening conversations that stretched late into the night. Alex seemed perfect attentive, but not clingy, funny without being inappropriate, interested in her work and her dreams. But if you looked closely, there were cracks in the facade. Alex always had an excuse for why video calls didn't work well. "My internet is terrible in this new apartment. I'm having camera issues with my laptop. Work has been crazy. I look exhausted." When they did try to video chat, the calls would mysteriously drop after a few seconds of poor connection. His photos, while plentiful, had a certain quality to them. They looked professional, almost too perfect. When Natasha's roommate, Jenna, looked at his profile, she commented, "These look like stock photos." Like really good stock photos. His stories about work had small inconsistencies. He claimed to be a marketing director at a tech startup, but when Natasha asked specific questions about campaigns or clients, his answers were vague. "Oh, you know how NDAs are. Can't really talk details." When Natasha suggested they do a group video call with some of her friends, Alex always had a reason why he couldn't join. "Big presentation tomorrow. Flying out for a client meeting. My mom's visiting this weekend." But these weren't red flags to Natasha, they were minor inconveniences. Alex was charming, consistent in his attention, and seemed genuinely interested in building a relationship. He remembered details about her students, asked about her family, sent her articles he thought she'd find interesting. By late February, Alex and Natasha were talking every day. He'd started saying "I love you" during their nightly phone calls, and she found herself saying it back. They made plans for her spring break in March. She would fly to Dallas, stay for a long weekend, and finally meet the man she'd been falling for over the past 6 weeks. The planning process revealed more inconsistencies, but love has a way of making people overlook warning signs. First, Alex suggested they meet somewhere neutral, maybe Austin, halfway between Dallas and Portland. Then he changed his mind. "Actually, I'd love to show you around Dallas. You can stay at my place, and I'll take you to all my favorite spots." When Natasha asked for his address to book her Uber from the airport, Alex said he'd prefer to pick her up himself. "I want our first meeting to be special, not in the back of some stranger's car." Romantic or controlling? Jenna, Natasha's roommate, wasn't buying it. "Tash, I've been thinking about this guy and something feels off. Why won't he video chat? Why haven't you met any of his friends? And now he's insisting on picking you up instead of giving you his address." But Natasha was in love. "You're being paranoid, Jen. Not everyone is comfortable on video calls. And he wants to pick me up because he's excited to see me. Stop trying to ruin this." On March 10th, Natasha booked her flight to Dallas. Departure: March 15th at 11 a.m. Return: March 19th at 6 p.m. 4 days to finally meet the man she'd been dreaming about for 2 months. She had no way of knowing that Alex Rivera didn't exist, that the man she'd been talking to had done this before, that she was walking into a carefully constructed trap that had been 6 weeks in the making. March 15th, 2023, 5:47 a.m. Natasha's alarm went off in her Portland apartment. Her flight wasn't until 11, but she was too excited to sleep. She'd packed and repacked her suitcase 3 times, wanting to make the perfect first impression. At 6:15 a.m. she texted Alex, "Can't sleep. So excited to finally meet you today." His response came immediately, "I've been awake for an hour. Can't wait to see your beautiful face in person. I'll be the guy with the biggest smile at baggage claim." Jenna drove her to the airport. In the car, she made one final attempt to voice her concerns. "Promise me you'll check in every few hours. And if anything feels wrong, even slightly off, you call me immediately." Natasha hugged her roommate goodbye. "I promise. But Jen, stop worrying. Everything is going to be perfect." At 11:03 a.m., Southwest Flight 1247 departed Portland International Airport. Natasha posted a photo from her window seat with the caption, "Dallas, here I come." The flight landed at Dallas Love Field at 2:17 p.m. local time. Alex had texted during her flight, "Landed yet? I'm already here waiting." Blue button-down shirt, standing by the Starbucks. At 2:33 p.m., Natasha's phone pinned with her location services. She was at baggage claim. At 2:41 p.m., she texted Jenna, "Found him. He's even cuter in person. Heading to his car now. We'll call you tonight." It was the last text message Jenna would receive from her best friend. The man who picked up Natasha Williams at Dallas Love Field was not named Alex Rivera. His real name was Kevin Walsh. He was 34 years old, and he lived in a run-down apartment complex on the outskirts of North Dallas with his elderly mother. Kevin had been planning this for weeks. He'd studied Natasha's social media, learned her routines, understood her personality well enough to construct the perfect fake identity to appeal to her. Alex Rivera, the outdoorsy marketing director who loved books and volunteered with animals, was a carefully crafted fiction designed to lure women like Natasha into his web. But Kevin had made one crucial mistake. He'd underestimated how suspicious Natasha would become once she met him in person. At 4:15 p.m., Natasha's phone showed she was at a Walmart on the south side of Dallas. Security cameras would later show her with Kevin, buying snacks and drinks. In the footage, she appears relaxed, even happy. Kevin seems nervous, constantly looking around, checking his phone. At 6:22 p.m., her location showed she was at his apartment complex, Meadowbrook Gardens, a series of aging two-story buildings that had seen better decades. At 7:30 p.m., Natasha's phone sent its last automatic location update. But the digital evidence tells us she was still alive, still texting, still trying to make sense of what was happening to her. At 8:45 p.m., she managed to send a message to Jenna, but it was not the cheerful check-in her roommate was expecting. "Something is not right here," Jenna immediately called back. The phone rang 4 times and went to voicemail. At 9:12 p.m., another text to Jenna. "His apartment is nothing like he described." And John ... "I don't think his name was Alex." Jenna tried calling again. This time the phone went straight to voicemail. At 11:47 p.m., Natasha posted to Instagram her final social media activity. The image was a blurry photo taken from what appeared to be an apartment window, showing the Dallas skyline at night. The caption read, "Dallas Nights. Not what I expected." At 2:17 a.m., March 16th, the last text message was sent from Natasha's phone. Not to Jenna this time, but to her sister in Seattle. "He's not who he said he was." After that, silence. When Jenna woke up on March 16th and saw the 2:17 a.m. text that had been forwarded to her by Natasha's sister, she knew something was terribly wrong. Natasha never stayed up that late, and the tone of the messages from the night before had left her deeply unsettled. She tried calling, voicemail. She tried texting. No response. By noon, with still no word from Natasha, Jenna made a decision that would prove crucial to the investigation. She started screenshotting everything. Every conversation Natasha had shared with her about Alex, every photo he'd sent, every detail about his supposed job, his apartment, his life in Dallas. What she found when she started looking closely painted a very different picture than the one Alex Rivera had presented. She reverse-searched his photos on Google. The results were shocking. Every single photo on Alex's dating profile belonged to a fitness influencer named Marcus Chun, who lived in Los Angeles. Marcus had over 100,000 Instagram followers and had never been to Dallas in his life. The marketing company where Alex claimed to work? It existed, but when Jenna called and asked to speak with Alex Rivera, they had no record of anyone by that name. The address Alex had mentioned for his apartment building? It was a luxury high-rise in downtown Dallas, not the Meadowbrook Gardens complex where Natasha's phone had last pinged. Every detail of Alex Rivera's life was a lie. By 3 p.m. on March 16th, when Natasha had missed her scheduled check-in call and her phone continued going straight to voicemail, Jenna was on the phone with Dallas police, filing a missing person report. The detective who took her call, Detective Maria Santos, had seen cases like this before. Online predators who created fake identities to lure victims. Usually, it ended in assault, theft, sometimes kidnapping. Sometimes it ended in murder. Detective Maria Santos had been working missing persons cases for 12 years. She knew that when someone disappeared while meeting an online date, the first 48 hours were critical. By 4 p.m. on March 16th, she had Natasha's phone records, her flight information, and all the screenshots Jenna had compiled of the fake Alex Rivera profile, but she needed more. The dating app, when contacted by police, was initially reluctant to share user data. It took a court order, expedited through the Dallas County system, to get access to the account information for the fake Alex Rivera profile. What they found was deeply troubling. The account had been created on December 3rd, 2020, more than a month before Alex had matched with Natasha. But here is the disturbing part. This wasn't Kevin Walsh's first fake profile on the platform. IP address tracking revealed he decreated and deleted at least 4 other fake accounts over the previous 2 years. The dating app's internal records showed that Kevin had messaged over 200 women during that time period. Most conversations died out quickly when he couldn't or wouldn't video chat. But occasionally, someone would agree to meet him in person. Detective Santos requested records for all of Kevin's previous matches. What she found made this case a priority for the entire Dallas Police Department. 3 other women had reported concerning encounters with men they met on dating apps over the previous 18 months. In each case, the man's profile had been fake, using stolen photos and fabricated personal information. 2 of the women had managed to leave safely when they realized something was wrong. The third had filed a police report claiming assault, but without being able to identify the real perpetrator, the case had gone nowhere. Natasha Williams wasn't Kevin Walsh's first victim. But if Detective Santos was right about what had happened in that apartment on March 15th, she might be his last. While Detective Santos worked the missing person case from the ground, the Dallas Police Department's digital forensics team was diving deep into the electronic evidence. Kevin Walsh had been clever about hiding his identity, but he'd made critical mistakes that would ultimately expose him. First, his IP address. While he'd used different names and photos across multiple dating profiles, he'd always logged in from the same internet connection, his mother's apartment at Meadowbrook Gardens, the same location where Natasha's phone had last pinged. Second, his phone records. Kevin had been using a prepaid phone to communicate with his victims, thinking it would be harder to trace. But telecom companies keep detailed records of all communications, even from prepaid devices. The digital forensics team was able to map every call and text between Kevin's prepaid phone and Natasha's number. The timeline they reconstructed was chilling. March 15th, 2:34 p.m. Kevin calls Natasha as she's waiting at baggage claim. The call lasts 47 seconds. March 15th, 6:47 p.m. Kevin calls someone else, a 23-minute conversation with a number registered to Harold Walsh, his father. March 15th, 11:52 p.m. Kevin begins a series of internet searches on his home computer. How to delete dating app account. Permanent delete text messages. How long do cell phone companies keep records? March 16th, 12:33 a.m. More searches. Missing person report how long? Dallas Police Missing Persons Department. How to factory reset phone. March 16th, 2:15 a.m. Kevin's phone makes its last call to Natasha's number. It rings once and goes to voicemail. He doesn't leave a message. March 16th, 2:17 a.m. The final text message is sent from Natasha's phone to her sister. He is not who he said he was. March 16th, 2:19 a.m. Natasha's phone is powered off. It never comes back on mine. March 16th, 3:41 a.m. Kevin makes a call to the same disposal company his father had used 6 months earlier when cleaning out a storage unit. But the most damning evidence came from Kevin's Google search history. The search warrant for Kevin Walsh's computer and electronic devices revealed the full scope of his planning and the horrifying reality of what had happened to Natasha Williams. Starting on January 10th, 5 days before he matched with Natasha, Kevin had begun researching her. He'd found her school's website, her LinkedIn profile, her Facebook page. He'd studied her interests, her writing style, her photos, crafting the perfect fake persona to appeal to her. But it was his searches from March 16th and 17th that told the story of what happened in those final hours. 2:47 a.m. March 16th. How to clean blood from carpet. 3:15 a.m. March 16th. Bleach destroyed DNA evidence. 3:33 a.m. March 16th. Dallas area lake deepest part. 4:22 a.m. March 16th. How long before missing person becomes homicide case? On March 17th, Kevin's Acara 2019 Honda Civic registered to his mother was captured on traffic cameras heading east on Interstate 20 toward Lake Ray Hubbard, one of the deepest lakes in the Dallas area. GPS data from his phone showed he spent 3 hours and 17 minutes at the lake before returning home. On March 18th, Kevin Walsh deleted every social media account he had, factory reset his phone, and bleached every surface in his apartment. But digital footprints are harder to erase than most people realize, and Kevin Walsh was not as smart as he thought he was. When Detective Santos obtained a warrant to search the Meadowbrook Gardens apartment on March 20th, they found traces of blood in the carpet padding that had survived Kevin's cleaning attempts. DNA analysis would later confirm it belonged to Natasha Williams. They also found something Kevin had missed: Natasha's earrings caught in the gap between the couch cushions. On March 21st, 2023, Kevin Walsh was arrested for the murder of Natasha Williams. Kevin Walsh's arrest at his mother's apartment was captured on body camera footage. When Detective Santos knocked on the door at 6:17 a.m., Kevin answered in his pajamas, acting confused and concerned. "Kevin Walsh, you're under arrest for the murder of Natasha Williams." His response was telling. I don't know anyone named Natasha, but he did know someone named Natasha. His phone records proved they'd exchanged hundreds of text messages and phone calls over 6 weeks. His computer search history showed he'd researched her extensively. His car's GPS put him at Lake Ray Hubbard, disposing of evidence. Kevin Walsh had planned everything except for getting caught. His trial began on October 2nd, 2023. The prosecution's case was built on digital evidence, phone records, internet search history, GPS data, DNA analysis, and the testimony of 3 other women who had encountered Kevin's fake dating profiles. Kevin's defense attorney argued that while his client had used fake dating profiles and had met Natasha, she had left his apartment alive on the morning of March 16th. The bloodstains, his lawyer claimed, came from a nosebleed Kevin had suffered during an argument. But the prosecution's digital forensics expert, Dr. Jennifer Liu, walked the jury through the timeline in devastating detail. Natasha's phone had stopped pinging cell towers at 7:30 p.m. on March 15th while she was still at Kevin's apartment. Her final text messages, sent hours later, had come from Kevin's phone, not hers. The prosecution also introduced evidence of Kevin as previous victims, women, who had reported disturbing encounters with fake dating profiles that matched his pattern of behavior. On December 15, 2023, after deliberating for just 4 hours, the jury found Kevin Walsh guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Natasha Williams' family established the Natasha Williams Foundation for Online Dating Safety in her memory. The foundation provides resources for people using dating apps, including verification tools and safety guidelines. The dating app where Natasha met her killer implemented new safety features as a direct result of this case: mandatory video verification within 48 hours of matching, AI-powered photo authentication to detect stolen images, and a panic button feature that automatically alerts emergency contacts if a user doesn't check in after meeting someone. But technology can only do so much. The most important safety measures are the ones we implement ourselves. According to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, romance scams and online dating fraud affected over 24,000 people in 2023, resulting in financial losses exceeding $1.3 billion. But financial loss isn't the only risk, as Natasha's case tragically demonstrates. Warning signs that could save your life. Won't video chat or meet in public places. Insists on controlling when and where you meet. Stories don't add up or change over time. Photos look too professional or perfect. Pushes for quick emotional intimacy. Gets angry when you ask questions or want to verify information. If someone truly cares about you, they'll understand your need to feel safe. They'll video chat. They'll meet in public. They'll introduce you to their friends and family. They'll give you their real name, their real job, their real address. Anyone who refuses to do these things is hiding something, and what they're hiding could get you killed. Natasha Williams was 26 years old. She taught 2nd grade. Her students called her Miss Nat, and she kept a box of tissues and granola bars in her desk for kids who needed them. She volunteered at the local animal shelter on weekends and was saving money to travel to Japan. She believed in seeing the good in people. She trusted that the man she'd been talking to for 6 weeks was who he claimed to be. Her trust was weaponized against her by a predator who had perfected the art of digital deception. This case isn't just about one killer. It's about the vulnerability we all face in an age where anyone can be anyone online, where photos can be stolen, identities fabricated, and dangerous people can hide behind carefully constructed personas. Kevin Walsh preyed on women who were looking for love. He studied their profiles, learned their interests, and tailored his fake identity to be exactly what they were looking for. He was patient, charming, and convincing. He was also a killer. The digital evidence that convicted Kevin Walsh should serve as both a warning and a source of hope. A warning that predators are using technology to hunt victims with unprecedented sophistication, and hope that technology also provides law enforcement with tools to catch these predators and bring them to justice. But the best technology for staying safe is still your own intuition. Trust your instincts. Verify before you meet. Tell someone where you're going. Meet in public places. Video chat before meeting in person. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If this case has opened your eyes to online dating safety, please share this video with someone who needs to see it. Share it with your daughters, your sisters, your friends. Knowledge is the best defense against predators like Kevin Walsh. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see more investigations that focus on justice, prevention, and honoring victims' memories. Your support allows us to dig deep into these cases and tell these stories with the respect they deserve. The comments are open for discussion about online safety, but please keep Natasha's family in your thoughts and respect their privacy as they continue to heal from this unimaginable loss. Remember, in a world where anyone can be anyone online, your skepticism isn't paranoia, it's survival. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and never ignore those warning signs that could save your life.